Susie throws a rock. The rock hits the window and the window shatters. What could be more obvious than that Susie's throwing the rock caused the window to break? Suppose Billy, who was standing there with her, was ready to throw his rock at an instant if Susie didn't throw hers. And had Susie not thrown, he would have thrown his with sufficient force to break the window. Even so, surely this fact about what Billy would have done doesn't alter the fact that Susie caused the window to break, right? Non-Humean approaches to causation fall into two main groups: difference-making or diff theories and process or biff theories. Diff theories define causation by what makes a difference to what. B is causally dependent on A if and only if, were A to be the case, then B would be the case. One prominent diff theory is David Lewis's theory, which proposes to understand causation in terms of counterfactual dependence. A causes B if and only if A happens and B happens, and had A not happened, B would not have happened. Let's go back to the case of Susie and Billy. We wanted to say that Susie is the cause of the window breaking. After all, she hit the window with her rock. But is the window's breaking dependent upon her throwing the rock in the right way? Consider the counterfactuals. Is it true that had Susie not thrown the rock, the window would not have broken? No. Why not? Because had Susie not thrown her rock, Billy would have thrown his, and the window would have broken anyway. It looks as if on the diff theory, Susie can't be the cause, but surely she is. This is what is referred to as a case of preemption, and preemption is a problem for diff theories. David Lewis pointed out in response that counterfactual dependence should be seen as a necessary but not sufficient condition for causation. The window's breaking might be counterfactually dependent upon Billy's throwing his rock, but as he didn't actually throw, he's not a cause. But this raises a different kind of puzzle. Suppose Billy did throw, and at exactly the same time, and with the same force as Susie, so that both rocks hit the window at the same moment. Intuitively, we'd probably say that they both caused the window to break. Certainly, we'd chastise both. But if each rock was sufficient on its own to break the window, how can we say that either is the cause? It isn't true that had Susie not thrown her rock, the window would not have broken. And it also isn't true that had Billy not thrown his rock, the window would not have broken. So it looks like neither Susie nor Billy is the cause, and both therefore are off the hook. Probabilistic theories of causation do not rely on counterfactual dependence in this way. The key idea here is that causes increase the chances of effects occurring. Chance-raising accounts say that A causes B if and only if the probability P of B given A is greater than the independent probability of B alone. In the preemption case, Billy doesn't actually raise the probability of the window's breaking unless he throws. But if he throws, as in the overdetermination case, he raises the probability of the window's breaking and should therefore be considered a cause. Just as throwing 2 coins increases the probability of getting a heads, so too throwing 2 rocks increases the probability of the window's breaking. The main problem for probabilistic approaches is that there can be causes which lower the probability of the effects occurring. Phil has a nasty disease. There's a 0.8 probability of his dying from it within the next 6 months. Phil's doctors tell him about a drug that will lower the probability of his dying from the disease to 0.2, let's say. The catch is that there's a 0.1 probability of his dying from side effects from the drug. Taking all these factors into account, Phil decides that overall the probability of his dying is greatly reduced by his taking the drug, which he does. Alas for Phil, the drug kills him. The drug was clearly the cause of Phil's death, and yet it lowered the probability of his dying, contrary to the probabilistic theory of causation. Unlike difference-making theories, causal process or BIF theories claim that effects are the result of some form of physical transference from their causes. For example, energy transfer. If only Susie's rock hit the window, then only Susie's throwing the rock is the cause. If it was the drug that Phil took which released the toxins that killed him, then it's the drug which was the cause. BIF theories thus seem like a promising way to deal with these problematic cases of causation. One significant limitation of BIF theories, however, is that they struggle to explain causation by omission. I neglect to water the garden and it dies. Surely I am the cause, but no energy was transferred from me to the plants in that process. In fact, that was the problem. A BIF theorist might want to deny that my not watering was the cause, pointing instead to some positive physical process that results from dehydration. But I am surely part of the explanation for the plant's demise. If we understood better what the relationship is between causation and explanation, broadly construed, we could begin to make real progress on some of these tricky issues in the philosophy of science.